It is time for the Moonshine Jones podcast. Wherever you are, whenever you are, whoever you are, good morning, good afternoon, good night. I am Moonshine Jones. Let's get to it. I'm at livescience.com. Canyon of Fire solar storm will slam into Earth today or tomorrow. Despite the alarming name, the storm is set to be mild. Yeah, it doesn't sound too good. Solar winds from the snapping of a gigantic canyon of fire filament on the sun are set to slam into the Earth today, July 20th, or tomorrow, July 21st, triggering a weak G1 geometric storm. Now, the reason I put this on here is I didn't notice it. I don't think you noticed it. But we had a solar storm 2 days ago that went through this area. A geometric storm. Sun watchers first started solar filaments as dark thread-like lines against the sun's bright background on July 12th, according to spaceweather.com. Then on July 15th, the filament that had snaked its way down to our northern star's hemisphere erupted, carving out a roughly 238,880 mile long and 12,400 mile deep canyon of fire on the sun's surface and belching solar material right at us. Now it says here, solar filaments are huge arcs of electrified gas or plasma worming their way through the sun's atmosphere according to the whims of the star's powerful magnetic field. Well, that's a lot of stuff to take in, isn't it, folks? Now just think about that for a minute. There was a magnetic storm that came off of the sun. We don't understand how truly blessed and fortunate we are that we don't have just and I use this word very loosely, ungodly amounts of craziness on this earth. The fact that this earth moves on its axis, moves so fast that we can't even see it, we can't feel it because we're moving so fast. Everything is set up for the enjoyment of human beings to enjoy this world. So if you ever question, why am I here? My day's going bad, blah, blah, blah. Just remember, we don't have dragons and flying snakes that just fly through the air attacking people. We don't deal with the sun just throwing balls of flames onto the earth. We don't deal with those things. And it just shows us how absolutely fortunate and lucky as human beings, not lucky, we're beyond lucky. The fact that we get to live on an earth where, yes, there are dangers, but think about the fact that how many of us rarely ever run into those dangers? And now the fact that we're in vehicles and we're texting when we're driving, that's another thing. I thought this was pretty interesting. And it says here, G2 and G3 storms are ones that are considered moderate. And strong, respectively. The CME ejected by the filament's collapse should slam into the earth today or tomorrow. Now, this was the 20th when this happened. So this is already passed. But again, it just shows how absolutely amazing this world that we live in is. How it's set up for happiness. It's set up for joy. We have lakes of fresh water. We have oceans. We have land. We were able to make treats and food and able to hunt if we need to. I mean, folks, instead of spending all of our time constantly wondering why this is happening, that's happening, why not enjoy what we have here on this earth? Because it's truly amazing. It really is. Now, here is a key, though. It says, thankfully, the storm coming from this filament is a weak one, classified as a G1 storm. It has the potential to cause fluctuations in power grids and impact some satellite functions, including those for mobile devices and GPS systems, but not dramatically. It will also bring the aurora as far south as Michigan and Maine. More extreme geomagnetic storms can disrupt our planet's magnetic field powerfully enough to send satellites tumbling to Earth. Live Science previously reported, and scientists have warned, that powerful geomagnetic storms could even cripple the internet. Erupting debris from CMEs usually takes around 15 to 18 hours to reach Earth. Wow. Now think about that for a minute, folks. If you're listening right now, and you are listening, think about that. If this was a I'm not completely familiar how this works. Say this was a G3 or a G4 storm where it did destroy the satellites in the sky. And the sky, all of a sudden you look up and there's satellites falling to Earth, which could destroy the internet. There's so many things that could happen, but they haven't happened, and we're very fortunate for that. Now it says here, this storm comes as the sun climbs into its most active phase of its roughly 11-year-long solar cycle. It's the second solar storm to have hit Earth in 24 hours. Astronomers have known since 1775, that solar activity rises and falls in cycles. But recently, the sun has been more active than expected, with nearly double the sunspot appearances predicted by NOAA. The sun's activity is projected to steadily climb for the next few years, reaching an overall maximum in 2025 before decreasing again. A paper published in July 20th in the journal Astronomy and Astrophysics proposed a new model for the sun's activity to be separately counting sunspots in each hemisphere, a method that the paper's researchers argue could be used to make more accurate solar forecasts. So now we're not just looking at what's going on within our, I guess you'd say, stratosphere. I'm not a professional at this, but the world that we see as far as storms, a sunny day, what have you. And now we're looking at solar forecasts. Scientists think the largest solar storm ever witnessed during contemporary history was in 1859 in the Carrington event, which released roughly the same energy as 10 billion 1 megaton atomic bombs. Wow. After slamming into the Earth, the powerful stream of solar particles fried telegraph systems all over the world and caused auroras brighter than the light of the full moon to appear as far south as the Caribbean. If a similar event were to happen today, scientists warn it could cause trillions of dollars in damage and trigger widespread blackouts, much like the 1989 solar storm that released a billion-ton plume of plasma and caused a blackout across the entire Canadian province of Quebec, NASA reported. Wow. Now, this is some pretty interesting stuff. This is why I love doing this podcast. I can talk about anything I want to talk about. And nobody in North Korea or Venezuela or Russia or China or all the other great places, Iran, Afghanistan, can restrict what I talk about. So, nah. Okay, that sounded really grown up, didn't it? But it's true. I love it. I love being able to talk about this stuff. This is, hopefully you've learned something. I've learned something. So with that being said, I'm Moonshine Jones. Thank you for listening. I really enjoyed this podcast. And if you enjoy this podcast, check out the rest of the podcast. Thank you for listening. I'm Moonshine Jones again. And we'll see you next time. Go USA. Wherever you are, whenever you are, whoever you are, thank you for listening. Go USA.